Welcome all to the New Dream Podcast. I'm Sarah Grady, and as Bryce Savage's song states, I'm a Pisces with no fake love here. My soul felt deeply called to create the New Dream movement of unconditional love and support for all, so here we are. Whether you're here for the stories, engaging authentic conversations, to discover new tools to create change in your life, or just the unconditional love and support that's felt, know that you are beyond welcomed. Take what fits for you, leave the rest, because life is yours to live and your heart will know the way. Let's get started creating our new dreams. This week's episode stars Nicole Conger, who's been a Reiki influenced massage therapist for 23 years. Now she's stepping into the beautiful world of intuitive coaching with all that knowledge that she's learned in those years. She has some validating insight to the energies we've been experiencing, especially the last few weeks. If you've been feeling the shift but not sure what it's about, definitely take a listen. I was extremely grateful for the deeper understanding and just to know I'm not feeling this energy alone. Enjoy. Hello and welcome. Today we have Nicole Conger on with us, and we're going to hear her story and a little bit about who she is, because I don't know either, and I'm so excited to hear. So first, where are you from? So like where in the world do you reside?
Tampa, Florida. I'm a Florida girl, born and raised.
Perfect. Have you lived there all your life?
Absolutely.
Have you? That's so awesome.
It's fun to live somewhere where people vacation.
So you get to see new people all the time, huh?
Well, you get to see new people all the time, but you get to dive into vacation energy.
Oh,
when
that's
people are
true.
living their best life. You know what I mean? Spending all the money, doing all the things, eating out at all the restaurants, going to all the parks, just doing all the things. So you get to literally see people living their best lives because your state is the state where everybody vacations.
I just got chills because I didn't even think about that. Like, you're right. People are just so happy. I couldn't imagine living in a place where people are happy.
Well, I mean, as much as a mom can be happy vacationing with her kids, I always say a trip with kids is not a vacation, it's a trip. But
that's true.
You know.
That is very, very accurate. Maybe once they get like older, but littles definitely for sure. It's a job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So what is it that you do right now?
So I am a massage therapist. I have been for 23 years.
Ooh.
I'm kind of a one-trick pony up until this point, but it's also really kind of set the foundation for what I'm wanting to step into as well.
Perfect. So now what is it that you're looking to do towards the future? Like, where are you at right now?
So I'm feeling called to be of more service to people in a deeper way. Obviously, people come and see me, and I'm able to kind of shift their energy and lighten their load and make their bodies feel better, and all of those ways that I'm a positive impact on their lives. But I'm intuitive. I always have been, and the hits are coming in stronger. And working at the beautiful day spa that I work at, that's not necessarily why people are coming there. And I don't necessarily want that to be why people are coming there, to hope to get the information. I'd like to be able to sit down and really have an exchange with people. And because of my intuition, once I'm able to kind of share space with someone, the intuitive hits just kind of come. I kind of hear and see things as analogies to where I'm able to kind of replay for them what I'm hearing, but in a way where they're able to find more clarity with it and have a little bit of a perspective change or a different approach to how they're going to go about fixing it, changing it, adjusting it, dealing with it, all of those things.
I love that. So basically you have people coming for like your energy work and not so much the massage. So you kind of like need to separate the two.
They get a little bit of both, but I'd love to sit down and be able to talk to people. I mean, I've really been blessed with a great perspective on things and an ability to kind of see things from a little bit of a different view to where you
Hmm.
can kind of take all of it in and assess. And I feel like that's a gift and people kind of
Absolutely.
need that. And then also with the ever changing world, um, I walk this really interesting walk back and forth between kind of what's happening geopolitically and whatever, because that's my Real Housewives. That's my Kardashians, if you will. Like it's all theater. So that's what I watch to be entertained.
I
But
love
it
it.
also is wild in having walked the spiritual walk and listened to people like Dolores Cannon speak years ago about what we were going to be experiencing, what we are experiencing now. It's so fascinating to see the way that it's all aligning. And there's a lot of people that know a lot about the one thing and a lot of people that know a lot about the other, but mixing them feels a little weird. And
Right.
being able to help them better understand like what we are experiencing and how those things are running parallel right now, I just feel like would really help people not feel so imbalanced and so ungrounded with the chaos that we're going to be living through,
I love that. I'm not gonna
so that they
lie.
can kind of ride the waves of change rather than being completely bowled over by the waves of change. Because it's happening.
Exactly.
So you
Is.
can either figure out how to ride it or let it mow you down.
So now do you find yourself like being around people that may not be like awakened to like that energy? Do you find
Oh,
yourself being like, "Oh, please just let me help you?"
yeah, yes and no, but it's one of those things, and I think that you've even assessed this. It's every all in its own time.
Right.
But what I'm finding is you and I, prior to getting on the call, were talking about the big shift that we felt last week. And
Hmm.
it was such a significant shift in
Yeah.
contrast to what we've been experiencing. And those of us that are kind of waiting with bated breath to see what it's going to look like really felt it and are
Hmm.
kind of in it and like really vibing with it and getting to experience that, like, I'm living alongside of it, but it's not affecting me and I don't have to be a part of it until I do, and not my monkeys, not my circus. And that's a lot of freedom to be able to recognize that those aren't your monkeys and that ain't your circus. So
100%.
so it's really felt so much like this week, such an air of excitement with all that's happening. And then I have a favorite podcast that I listen to that would tend to be a little more political.
Hmm.
And just this morning, she was the young lady who is on there. She didn't want to talk about the things that they talk about. She's like, it just makes me feel bad. It doesn't make me feel good. It makes me angry. It makes me frustrated. None of it I can fix, by the end of the podcast or even by the end of the day. And quite frankly, it's just not what I want to talk about. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's happening. Like, just even, you don't have to woo woo them. They're starting to recognize it doesn't feel good to stay in that energy. I can choose not to dive into that energy. I can assess it and I can see that it's crazy and I can see that it's happening, but I can choose not to be a part of it. And
Right.
that is the essence of the awakening, is realizing that you get to have the choice and you get to decide how your life feels, how you feel as you're experiencing these things. And it was just so exciting to realize that it's a ripple effect. And I think that last week was big in that.
I couldn't agree more. Like I'm not like super into like understanding fully the depths of like I think where you're at. So like I felt the shift, but I have no idea why the shift was there. Like I know that like I've heard tidbits here and there like throughout the last couple of years like we're heading towards this great big change, but I didn't do like
Ooh,
the
can I
deep
kind of
dive.
catch you up?
Absolutely. Like
Okay.
I would so
So
love to hear about it.
so I don't claim to be an expert. All I'm going to say is my experience and the info that I have been taking in through the course of time.
Hmm.
Um, Time is in fact moving faster. We're not going crazy, and it isn't because we're old, and that's just what happens to old people. Time is in fact moving faster. Um, Vibrationally, the world is vibrating faster. And
Okay.
a beautiful analogy of what we're living through right in this very moment is God, source, spirit, the great I am. If all of those things seem too religious to you, Fred, the big Fred in the sky, he is, if you will, he is shaking this filthy 40-year-old rug that has raised generations of people upon it without ever really being cleaned. And he is shaking that rug. And if you think about a rug that has become that filthy
Right.
and you start shaking it, the level of filth and grime and gross and chaos and muck and yuck that would come off of that rug, and kind of compare it to what we're kind of like watching happen, if you will,
Right.
that's what we're experiencing. The flip side is we're also being inundated with extreme amounts of light. We already carry so much light. You've already heard all of the terminology, light workers, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting such an influx of light that there's so many people turning on, if you will,
Yeah.
realizing how this is affecting their body. They're able to tune into the radio frequency now a little better. Their bodies are adjusting. Maybe they've been making better health choices prior to this, and now their body's able to take the light in this time different than it was last. And so they're now coming online. And so that's causing the vibration to speed up and move faster, if you will. So the rug's even shaking faster. So that adjacent to kind of what we're experiencing right now out in the quote unquote 3D real world, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
is that all of the corruption and the lies and the hiding and the sneaking and the yuck that we have known existed, we couldn't do anything to fix it. It kind of took over for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
that is now being faced with all of this light. It can't exist in it. It's being shaken off the rug. Once we get to a high enough vibration, it cannot exist in the same reality of where we are. It's just going to naturally be thrown off, if you will.
Right.
But they realize, if you will, baddies, we'll use Peppa Pig terminology, the baddies, if you will, realize that the light shift influx is happening so fast and so strong and so huge that, and so quickly, which is very exciting, um, that we're kind of witnessing Wile E. Coyote throwing everything out of his bag at the road runner at once. So if it feels like, oh my gosh, what's getting thrown at us next? It truly is happening. And it's an act of sheer desperation because the good wins. And when we get on the other side of this shaking of the rug, clearing of the muck, sweeping of the floor that we're kind of experiencing, are you a mom?
I am.
Okay. I know you have seen it in your kids.
I
This new
have.
generation is unlike anything we've ever witnessed.
Absolutely.
They are going to rebuild in a way that we could have never rebuilt. And so, what we're witnessing is the absolute destruction of the old guard, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
All of these systems that are corrupt, broken, built wrong, haven't been working for years. And we were told, our generation, oh, no, it's fine. It's good. It's fine. It works. It's,
Right.
it's good. No wonder half of us are on antidepressants and some sort of antipsychotic because we're like, no, are we crazy? Because none of this is working and none of it's good. But
Yep.
that's what we've been told our entire lives. Our kids now, they aren't swallowing it. This ain't
No.
good. This doesn't work. And that's broken. And we're not going to play those reindeer games.
Absolutely.
As
My,
a parent
yeah.
raising that right now, oh, I wasn't equipped for it. As a person who's walking this walk, I could not be more excited to see what my two little indigos are set to like become.
So then that brings a question to my mind. Like, were they the ones that kind of helped you kind of open up to like, I need to feel differently? Like, were they a huge part of like the beginning of your growth journey?
Yes and no. I had always high vibed, if you will, and I'd always
Okay.
been blessed in what I did, and that my job is lovely, and that all that you hear all day is, I've been looking forward to seeing you all day. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy to see you. And what lovely affirmations, but it also it's able to you're able to kind of stay in a nice high vibe dynamic. And
Right.
I also, unbeknownst to me and how much of a blessing it would be in my career as a massage therapist, I had a Reiki attunement prior to going to massage school. Didn't know what
Oh,
Reiki was, didn't even really know what energy work was. Wouldn't have told you I had even gotten enough of it to do it, but now it comes into practice, without not even necessarily being called in. It just is one of those things. The hands start heating up, and I recognize that there's a need, and we do what we need to do. But it was it was an opening, if you will. And
hmm.
then I lovingly referred to my massage school as a hippie massage school, but
Love that.
it truly was. The only snacks we had on campus were purified water and Luna bars and seaweed, and that was what you could get in the bookshop. Like there was no Coke machines or anything like that. Um,
Okay.
we learned to massage barefoot because we didn't have desks, and we sat on the carpet, and they didn't want the carpet to be dirty for us to sit on. So we took our shoes off outside of the door. And now for 23 years, I cannot do a massage with my shoes on. Um,
Okay.
I could have
Love that.
never really fully understood what a blessing it was to go to the school and be introduced to people who already understood things that I would later come to understand.
Right.
Um, by way of even just your body as a temple and the way that you care for it, understanding the
Right.
energy that flows through us, understanding how our vibration affects others and ourselves, all of those things. Obviously,
Right.
all of those people were already living in that world, and I tapped into it a little, but then came out and still kind of did the real world thing.
Hmm.
I did have my second Reiki attunement while I was pregnant with my boys.
Okay.
Um, and I got invited to an angel meditation group is what really kind of reconnected me to my spiritual. I was always an empath as a child, but I also grew up in a home where being that sensitive to everyone's energy just wasn't going to be good for me.
Hmm.
So I learned to turn that off pretty early. Um, it came back or was always there in ways that I didn't understand. But once I understood what it was, why there were certain busy restaurants it made me feel uncomfortable to be in, why
Hmm.
certain really crowded situations I felt very anxiety ridden, but I myself didn't have anxiety, but I was feeling like other people's angst and other people's chaos, for lack of a better word, because at the time I didn't know how to kind of protect myself and bubble up.
Yep.
Um, but it was in going to the angel meditation group that I was able to meditate for the first time. And just being able to reconnect in that way was so beautiful. And to just get reintroduced to that world
Hmm.
was huge. And so, um, I tend to be a consumer of information. I don't necessarily think that everything I hear is true and everything I hear is the absolute, but I love to hear people's perspectives on things.
Same.
Um, I love people. They
Same.
drive me crazy. God love them. But I love people. All their
Yep.
quirks and their little things and all their just things that make us us. We're so fantastic. We really are. And gosh, I can't wait to see us come out from under the muck and really thrive. That's going to be so beautiful.
I am just so grateful that you stepped into my world because I can't agree more. Like they do, that people can drive you absolutely crazy, but at the same time, like, please tell me how you got there. Like, what is it that you're
Oh my gosh,
thinking? And
yes.
like tell me
Oh,
all the
yes.
things.
All the things. I'm so full of questions. Oh,
Yep.
I'm worse than a 4-year-old, but not with the whys, but like, tell me the story. Oh, I want to know. Oh,
Yep.
there's got to be a backstory to that. Can I please ask? I know I'll never see you again and it's completely irrelevant to my world, but gosh, my curiosity has just taken over. But I was
Same.
the kid that was a people watcher, and I still love to watch people because I do love the people.
Hmm.
Um, and I would tell myself stories of dynamics that were happening as far as like their interpersonal. But now I'm realizing I was probably getting more like truth to what was happening. It wasn't just, imaginary story time in my head. I probably was picking up on the energy of what was really transpiring. And that's
Right.
kind of interesting to look back on and be like, oh, wow, maybe that was really the story, not just the story I told myself. Who knows? But, at various times it does get confirmed that those intuitive hits are in fact on point, but I can't assume that they all are.
Right, right. So when did you first notice that you had this gift? Like, have you always just known it in the back of your mind, or like when did you truly like become awakened to it? Was it when you became a massage therapist, or was it even before that, like when you were a kid?
Um, I think as a kid, I didn't realize that I knew things, but I was always the person who would be told, "Gosh, you're such an old soul. You're so
Mhm.
wise for a kid your age.
Yep.
Gosh, it's so interesting how you think about things." And I was always very sensitive, and I was always very aware of everyone around me in the sense
Hmm.
of trying to control the energy in the room without realizing that's what I was doing, or assessing the
Right.
energy of the room and matching it so that it would help it stay where it was. In
Yep.
hindsight, I see that. As far as the intuitive hits, I do think they always came. I don't think that I realized that's what they were.
Hmm.
But at around the massage table, in that space, in that sacred space where someone has come and allowed for you to share space with them and touch them,
Hmm.
that does open up kind of a vortex or a space to allow kind of more information to come in.
Right.
um, and just sharing space, because that also happens when I sit down and just vibe with a person, kind of like if we were talking about you. I'm sure there'd be some things popping in that I'd be like, okay, well, this just popped in, I think I need to share it with you. And now I've learned, if it pops in my head, I just blurt it out. I don't give it credence. I just say, I just want to share with you, this popped in my head, maybe it means something. um, because it could be helpful. It sometimes is. Um,
Yep.
Before I realized what was really happening, I on the occasion that I would get a talker or a sharer or somebody who really just needed to hash out their stuff with a stranger,
Hmm.
um, I would walk out of the room and I would think, "Wow, that was really good advice. Wow, look at what I just came up with." And I kind of recognize that that wasn't all me, because I'm good, but I don't know if I'm that good. But it all kind of melded together as
Yep.
I started more so back down the spiritual path, is recognizing the intuitive hits. And it wasn't until I had a girlfriend come to town, and God, she's amazing. She's a coach, and it's one of those things. Who coaches the coach? The
Yep.
friend. But in just really being able to be in the energy of where she was and really hold space for all that she was going through, it was incredible, the perspective shift that I was able to provide for her. And it
Hmm.
wasn't just me. It was like, oh, look at what but it was to see the change in her, to see her walk away lighter, to see her walk away with a different mindset, to see her be able to not feel so bogged down or put one thing down and pick another thing up, or just be able to really maneuver through the waters that she was in based on our shared time together,
Hmm.
was a beautiful glimpse into what potentially could be. I was always the counselor for all of my friends, or always the person that people would come to talk to about things.
Yeah.
I would always joke I should have been a shrink, but in hindsight, I don't know that I could have done modern medicine really. I don't know that I could have walked that walk, but the being called to be a clarity coach feels very much in alignment with what I'm meant to do. And so now I've heard this whisper for years. I shared it with my best friend on a drive to Destin. It was just the two of us for her birthday. We were getting one night without the kids and the husbands before the kids and the husbands were coming in the next morning. And we were just driving, kind of daydreaming. And both of our, well, my two boys and her daughter were set to start kindergarten. And it was really
Okay.
going to be a change of a season,
Yep.
in having the twins. They never really attended like the preschool or anything. So, well, at 4 they did, but
Mhm.
half day. But anyway, it was just, it felt like, okay, now people were going to look at me and say, okay, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go back to massage, or you're going to try and keep more banker's hours, if you will, for the sake of, the kids? Or it just felt like a real pivotal moment. And I shared with her that, I can vision myself like counseling people, like sharing time with people, like helping people feel better as they work through their stuff. And
Yep.
this was long before I ever started the Real Housewives of the World, that we've all kind of been thrust in.
Yep.
Um, but I could see it and I could feel it. And I knew that I was meant to do something like that. But 2 weeks after the boys started kindergarten, I got a phone call from an old coworker. And she said, our old coworker has started her own business and she needs a massage therapist. And are you still doing massage? And it was an absolute answer to prayers. And I'm still there. And I continue to stay. I will be there because it is, I'm so grateful for that place. And I love to go and be in the beauty that is that place and have people come and be
Hmm.
pampered and loved on and made over and just whisked away for an hour or half the day. It is such
Yep.
a treat. Um, but the good news is, in getting this job, I, for the first time in my life, set boundaries as to when I would work and how much I would work. And it wasn't however much you need me.
Yep.
And that has laid a beautiful foundation for this next step to come into play, and for there not to have to be these huge life changes to allow for it to happen. Um, my only hesitation, and I don't really know why it is maybe the social media. And I think that that's a little bit of my age. Um,
Yeah.
but it's also the world that we're living in. And I love to consume it. So I'm not sure why I'm having such a hang up with it. Hence me saying, absolutely, let's jump on video. I need to get more comfortable.
It's so funny because that was my biggest downfall too. Like the thing that stopped me was like, okay, social media, it's kind of like the energy, depending on which one you choose. I don't vibe with it always. Like there's too much negativity here, or there's like too much chaos over here. But
Or there's these
also,
just these lovely beings of youth that have figured out how to do all
yep,
of the magic
yep,
on the camera
yep,
to really give just an absolute glorious appearance. And
yep.
I will say, maybe the quality of the content might not always be there, but boy, I do get a little wowed with the beauty. Um, and
Yep.
so I'm having to remind myself that I'm not bringing beauty tips, I'm bringing information.
But you're beautiful just the way you are
Well,
too.
thank you. And I'm not knocking myself, but I
Yep.
think you know what I mean.
I
It's like,
do. I do.
wow.
It's almost like, should I even take this step? Like, are people going to resonate with what I have to say? And I think that's why I started this, because I am messy. I do things differently. I record differently, but I don't want it to be perfect. I don't want it to be this like shiny little thing in a
Well,
box
that's what I
that,
was going to say. Don't you
yeah,
love messy?
I
Okay,
do.
so totally telling on myself. In the event that someone posts their mess or posts an unfiltered picture online and there's a cluttered countertop, I will tap
Yes.
on that picture and I will zoom in on that cluttered countertop because it makes me feel so normal and
Yep.
human. And like, I'm not the only one that has kids and far too many things in my home.
Yep.
And it is so like it's so validating in
Hmm.
contrast to the, you know, coordinated pictures, if you will. And that's the stuff that I have to just keep checking back in with is I love
Yes.
to see the messes. I love to see the chaos. I
Yep.
love to see the imperfect. So if I
Absolutely.
like it, why wouldn't other people?
I can't agree more because it's almost like giving us permission. Like you have, like, not that we need permission to live our life, but it's like,
But we were kind of raised feeling like it.
exactly. Like we're all still in that mindset. Like we need permission. So
Well,
for
how many
me,
people told you it was okay for you to be doing what you're doing right now? You know what I mean?
oh
As
my
weird as that
gosh.
sounds, truly, it's
Yeah.
because we do find ourselves, there's this little person in the, I don't want to say little girl, but for us it is in the back of your head that if four people tell me I'll do that, that's a good idea and I'll do well at that, then oh, I should definitely do it. Rather than
Yeah.
the huge voice screaming at you from the heavens saying, do this or else. But those four
Yes.
people who are not in your bubble at all, you need those people more so than this voice. And why is that what we've been conditioned to believe? But we all have. Well, a lot of us have. Some people have
Yes.
really started listening to the big voice. I love those people. Oh, they're so
Yep.
brave. Oh, it makes me feel so excited. And one day I want somebody to look at me and think that I was the brave person because I haven't been that brave up until now. I've played it a little safe. That's
It,
cozy.
yeah. Well, and can I ask, how old are your
Yes,
your kids?
they're 11.
11. Okay. So like you spent that time being mom. And
Oh, yes.
I I played it safe because of being mom. Like I've got two older kids and I have two little ones, and they're the reasons why I was like, "Oh, I've been playing it safe. I can't do that anymore because I'm teaching these kids to then play it safe."
Yep,
So like I
exactly.
resonate with that wholeheartedly, and I'm so grateful to be a part of your stepping out into the world journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, do you have any sort of like advice or tips or anything that you want to leave our viewers with?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So it's going to get real crazy out there, but they're not your monkeys and it's not your circus. So you don't have to invite it inside. So turn inward, turn towards your family, turn towards your own health, your own spirit, your own wellness.
Yep.
If you walk the spiritual path, turn to God, get a little closer with him, walk with him a little more.
Hmm.
But it's going to get hectic and it's going to get crazy. But what's beautiful is we do create our own reality.
Yep.
Are we going to feel a little bit of the rocking of the boat? Absolutely. How could we not? It's going to get wild. But we do have the privilege of staying in our own space and in our own bubble. And we can peek out and we can be like, holy crap, was that just a zebra that flew past my window? Yes, it was. Oh my God. And just close the curtains back and go back to what we're doing. Because we can, in fact, create a very comfy raft to
Yep.
ride these very wild waters. But as crazy as it's going to feel, it's going to start to feel lighter. As things start to continue to shift, you're not going to know why you just feel better about it all, but you're just going to start feeling better about it all. And to that, I say, embrace it, love it, wear it like a jacket, and just know that this is going to feel crazy, but in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be a brief little blip. And what's on the other side is absolutely exquisite.
I love that. Now I have to ask, like that was such a beautiful message. And my brain, like I have an inner knowing that likes to pop up. I'm still learning to trust it. So you were talking about like we have our own special raft, like we have our own personal raft, and that's going to get us through to the other side. Would you compare what we're experiencing right now almost to like what they talked about like in the Bible? Like they talk about, God flooding the
Yes.
earth and cleansing the
Yes.
earth. I
Yes.
love that so much because I just had a dream last night that we were fighting the waves. Like it was the waters were coming in, and then me and my family couldn't get to the place where we needed to go, so then we had to do over. And then we just kept doing it over and over again, and it was like we weren't scared. We were just like, well, dang it, why didn't we do it right this time? So then we tried again. And I love that
Exactly.
you spoke
Exactly.
on that
And
today.
that's the most important thing is just to keep the fear out of it.
Yeah,
Fear is really low vibe, and that sounds so simple to say, but it really does weigh
right.
us down because
Absolutely.
ultimately God wins. Ultimately, the good wins. There's not a bad outcome in this. And if
Right.
you really take two steps back, we are living through the most ridiculous movie to ever be filmed. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous at this point.
Absolutely.
So if you can really have that little perspective shift and not feel like you're in the movie, but you're just watching the movie,
Mm-hmm.
then you're able to really kind of keep it out. And like you said, your own little raft. And that's, spending time with your kids,
Yep.
teaching them about things that are important to you,
Yep.
teaching them about the shifts and changes that are going to happen. There was a time when kind of talking to your kids about this more woo woo stuff was just a little bit out there, but now they're asking about it. They
Yep.
feel it, they recognize it, they want to know. They have such a deeper knowing and such a deeper understanding than we ever had.
Yep.
Their guiding light is so strong.
Yeah.
Like they're going to rebuild the most beautiful planet. But in the meantime, to all the parents out there, I will say raise dragon slayers in the time of dragons.
Yes.
Equip your kids for the world that we're going into. It's going to be fantastic when they finally get a clean slate to build on. But until then, it's going to be a little rocky. They're going to be
Right.
saying, ooh, these shifts and changes are funky. You just keep them out of the fear. You guys ride the waves of change
Yep.
and just know that ultimately we're all going to be okay. But,
Love
when you
that.
go to clean your room, it's an absolute, excuse my language, shit show until you finally get it done. And
Yep.
we've got a big cleansing taking place on the planet. So for it to look like absolute chaos right now makes perfect sense.
Oh, I needed this conversation today. Like you are just such a beautiful light.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I know that our viewers are going to be like, I need to follow you. So like where can they find you? Where can they keep up with your journey and see where you're going, and then maybe step into coaching with you like when you get to that level?
So you can find me on Instagram at Nicole Conger with a little backslash at the end.
Okay.
Um, and that's NicoleConger. Right now, I don't have anything posted. It's kind of my new stepping out into my new identity. But
Yay.
feeling very called to share this because I just, there's no reason for us to feel scared or frightened in this because it's
Right.
really the most exciting time to be alive. It is
Right.
such a gift to get to witness this. When you think about like how this is going to be written about in history books by our kids,
Mm-hmm.
like the Chronicles of Narnia, it's going to be fantastic because
Absolutely.
they're going to be able to tell the truth.
Yeah. Well, and the beauty is like you sharing all this, it helps people almost like if they're connected with it, like if they're
Of
feeling it
course.
in their soul, in their hearts, like it makes their body feel better. It helps calm that unknown because we fear
Oh,
the
of course.
unknown.
Oh, of course.
So
Of course.
this is such a light and such a beauty for people out there. And I'm so glad that you stepped out and you're sharing your journey.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. So
Same.
we're walking into such fun times. I feel like I get to be like, take my hand, let's go to Disney World. Come on.
Same. My favorite line right now is like, I get to live this life. What is this?
It's fantastic.
Yes.
It is fantastic, but it's also such a blessing to get to show other people that they get to feel that it's okay to feel that way about their lives. because we
Absolutely.
also don't get told that that's okay, to
Right.
really love your life and to really live a life that you love. Like
Yep.
that doesn't always get, the praise that it should or get
No.
talked about the way that it should.
Or it's almost like you're not allowed to love your life because I struggled, so then you need to struggle too. And if you're not struggling, you're not doing it right.
Exactly. Exactly. But my favorite,
Yeah.
it's probably a couple years ago, we were on a cruise and one of the cruise workers was walking around on the last day and they were like, "Oh, are you ready to go home, ready to return to your life?" And you could hear the other, "Oh, no, no, I'd stay for a few more days." And then he got to me and, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "Yep." And he was surprised by my answer. And I was like, you need to create a life that you don't mind returning from vacation to.
Yep.
Because how terrible is it to have a life that you just take a week and then you dread going back to it for the other remaining 51 weeks?
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely not. We have far
Yep.
too much power and far too much control.
Yep.
And,
You
and
get
in
to
the
create
day
it.
and age where there can be professional ping pong players, you can be whatever you want to be.
I enjoy you so much. Thank you so much for your message. I have one more question.
Yes.
So I like to end with when you hear the phrase the new dream, what does that make you feel inside? Like, what does it make you think of?
Excited. And it makes me think of my kids.
Oh, I love that.
It
Okay.
makes me think of my kids because without meaning to, you naturally start to parent the way that you were parented.
Absolutely.
They're not those kids. They cannot be parented that way. Their
No.
questions are too big. Their understanding is too huge. Their moral compass is unwavering,
Yep.
unwavering. Because even as a parent, there are times when you'd like to bend it just a smidge to make
Yep.
it work in your favor. Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not. And to that, I say, what those kids are going to build when they all get together with those moral compasses and those old souls and that wisdom that they came onto this planet with and a clean slate to work with, it's going to be like what we've been hearing about that we thought was so cockamamie and crazy.
Yep.
Because come on, I mean, we've all listened to it and it's like, oh, that sounds fantastic one day. But when you're living in the city muck and it doesn't feel like anything's really shifting or changing, and everybody's still nodding their head and telling you the whole system, everything's working, it
Yep.
feels like a pipe dream. But I, for right, I am so excited to see what's going to happen. And I know it's happening because I'm seeing all of the shifts in the movement moving in that direction. And the
Yep.
fact that I get to be blessed with two indigos with these heads on and what they're going to do and build and create, and that I get to raise them and teach them and they get to teach me and we get to walk this path
Yes.
together. It's exquisite.
I couldn't agree more. That's my most favorite journey is the getting to parent these beautiful souls that you can't parent them the way we were. You just can't. It
Exactly.
breaks them
You can't.
and they'll fight you tooth and nail because they're not going
Oh,
to allow it.
Oh, and just two quick stories about mine. 2 years old. Mommy, can we have cookies? I hadn't been to the grocery store. My husband was working out of town, so we don't have any cookies. Show me. It wasn't insubordinate. It wasn't disrespectful, but I just claimed there wasn't a cookie in the house, and they wanted to see for a fact that there was not a cookie in the house. Otherwise, I was lying.
Yep.
And so I was, very taken aback because I was a because I said so kid. I took that as an answer. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I didn't want to rock the boat, and I took that as the answer. That was the kid that I was, and so they're not the because I said so kids. And my other little guy, he was like 4 years old, and he was getting a little sassy with his letting his thoughts out, if you will. And I said, "You better watch your mouth." And he looked me dead in my face and he said, "I can't even see my mouth." And turned on his heel and walked away. And I thought, what do you even say to that? What do you say? I also turned on my heel and walked away and thought, touche.
I love that story so much.
And he was 4. So
They are so lucky to have you and for
oh,
you
well,
to be
thank
their
you.
mom. And
Oh, thank you.
you're such a beauty and such a joy, and your energy is just superb. I
Oh,
cannot
thank
wait to follow
you.
you and see where your journey takes you. And we'll have you back on, you know?
Oh, I was gonna say I can't wait to reconnect as the zebras
Yes,
start flying. That's gonna be
absolutely. Like,
fun.
I want to hear your perspective all the way through this. Like, please share it with me.
It's all gonna be okay, but it's gonna get crazy. But it's gonna be good and
Good
kind of fun.
crazy. Good
Good
crazy.
crazy. Good crazy. Exactly.
Release the
Exactly.
control because we're not going to be able to control our way through this.
No, well, we can control what we can control.
Yep.
That's the beautiful
Yep.
part is we get to decide what we put in our bodies. We get to
Yep.
decide how much we move our bodies. We get to control ourselves and our own little, bubble of people.
Yep.
And really that's all that matters.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining
You're
us
so welcome. It
today.
was wonderful connecting.
It was so, so good to connect with you. I can't wait to see you again.
Well, I hope
Ha-
you have a very blessed day.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye.
Got those pretty eyes that are